it's a real greasy transition. But the International Alliance of Theatrical Stage Employees, IASTE or IA, because I have no idea how to pronounce it any other way. So,
It
have
looks like taste, but with an I.
right.
Iced.
So, do you guys know what's going on right now between them and the Alliance of Motion Pictures and TV Producers? Okay. So, um recently there was a NPR interview, and I'm not going to release the guy's name cuz honestly, I don't know how to pronounce it and I don't want to butcher the guy's last name, but he ended up starting, whoops, that is the wrong scene. He ended up starting this Instagram account called IA Stories with hyphens in between them. And what he started posting about his regular life, working as a member of IA. And these are people who
One sec, Peach.
Yeah.
So to clear it up, these people work on your favorite television shows.
Mm-hmm.
Like they do costumes, props, they are your PAs, they are, like a whole bunch of other things. So there's like subcategories in Hollywood. So these are the people that actually work on your jobs. And then you have like your directors and whoever else. Like they're all in separate little buckets. And this particular organization, this guy started a movement. Yeah, sorry. I want to make sure.
No, you're fine. You're fine. You beat me to it. You're going to say the exact same thing I was. They're the people who work on all the productions, audio, visual, camera crew, makeup, everyone. But behind the scenes that isn't directly tied to an actor or the actual like production, executive producer staff, right? Like they're all separate. Well, this dude started a movement because after he started posting about his regular life being an editor, he started getting other people's submissions as well, and that kind of helped him keep his anonymity when it came to the account. Because, I mean, with only so many backstories, you're eventually gonna like accidentally let something go, right? So all the other stories kind of helped him keep his anonymity, and he was able to start shining a light to the constant problems that the television and movie industry has had for a long time. This one dude worked 19.5 hours a day for his longest day, and everything else ranged between 12 to 15. They get terrible working conditions that have only gotten worse since like the early 2000s after the writers' strike. And this is like kind of similar. I don't know if you guys remember the writer's strike in the early 2000s.
Yeah.
Where all the writers were fucking fed up.
Mm-hmm. I also read that with this strike, like if it really does happen, that it would be the largest since like the Great Depression. Like it'll be a hot minute since they've had something so large.
Mm-hmm. So some of the other organizations that are behind IA with these accusations, I mean, so like Norman said, I'm going to go with that first. There is a planned vote for a strike tomorrow. It's not just IA, the Cinematographers Guild, Hollywood Unions, the American Cinema Editors, they're all backing IA with this strike, and they're tired. They're tired of being pushed aside. They don't get proper living wages from the Producers Guild. They're asking for better working conditions. They're asking for better production standards and
adequate sleep.
and adequate sleep. And the whole reason that this started was because of two things. One, IA Stories Instagram account, and the second thing is IA and the I'm calling it the Producers Guild only because that's what they are. Producers Guild, which is now short for Alliance of Motion Pictures and TV Producers. They're in talks right now for IA and all of its staff, everyone in the union, to get a pay bump whenever they're working on an active project. So something that releases weekly, like The Circle, anything that's on Apple TV or Hulu, right? When Netflix first started releasing digital content, Producers Guild and IA didn't really know how to categorize it, so they created a new category because What the old rule was is if you're working on an active project as anyone in IA, you get a pay bump, and it's a significant pay bump. But because all these shows, they're no longer being just released on TV, they're being released digitally or some exclusively via a streaming service, the active workers that are a part of IA and all these other guilds and unions aren't getting that pay bump. And the producers union does not want to budge on that pay bump. So that's what everyone is pissed off about.
Wow.
Mm-hmm.
Pay people for their work, damn it.
Well, not only that, it's
but
just
then
like
but on the other side, like what is so the terminology, what is a living wage? Like what are they require what are they asking for? Like you're going on strike, right? What are your demands?
They're asking to meet the inflation rate over in California and in other cities.
Okay.
Because I mean, inflation
what
rate's
is it?
different from the cities. Right now, they don't have a number, but
But that's like, okay, so if you're gonna do this, let's go. Come on. All right, let's get a little planning. Let's get some prep. We can't,
I think they're in
we
their
can't-
prep stages now, and
yeah,
they have been talking to the studios and production companies to try to negotiate something. Production companies are saying that, well, we offered them a deal and all this other stuff, but it wasn't what substantial. And they said, well, with the pandemic, like we're one of the hardest hit, so this is what we're just gonna have to pay. This is what it is. Which, okay, yeah, but you're still making millions of dollars. Like these actors are still pulling in hundreds, if not thousands, like money, buku money. I will be willing to wait for a show if it means that these people actually get time to sleep and spend time with their family.
if it comes down to losing more quality television shows like back during the writer's strike, the early 2000s, I'm fine for it. If it proves to Hollywood that we would rather see someone be able to live and not be worked to all fucking hell and then abandoned, I'm for it.
Okay, so what is stopping the production companies from outsourcing outside of California?
You would need those people to be on set.
Mhm.
Physically, yeah.
Yeah, and you can't really outsource those jobs. I mean,
But writers, right? Like, what's stopping a writer from Zoom calling in to a writer's room? Like, I'm not talking like the main writer who makes the calls on scene, right?
yeah.
But you have a writer's room with 20 writers. What's stopping that from being a Zoom call from people across the country?
I don't know, but that's up to the production companies. Plus, I mean,
So then if you do,
It's not
so if
really
you're
the
doing,
root of the issue either.
yeah, that's not the root of
well,
the
yeah,
issue.
no, it is the root of the issue, right? Because so the root of the issue is a competitive market. You're not having a competitive market at all because you're only pulling a market, from the California, like right around you market, right? Like there could be an amazing writer in New York. They're shows are produced in New York.
Mhm.
So what's stopping that writer in New York from undercutting the people in California who are doing this job?
I mean, if that's how the productions want to go with it, but I think these people are physically there. It's not
Yeah.
writers. It's their like PAs or makeup artists. Like it's those people that physically do have to be there. And
Yeah.
sure, they can hire contract help and say like, "Hey, for this project, we'll fly you out and this is your pay rate." That's definitely an option. But for these people who work such long grueling hours and don't get the pay or benefits that they deserve, like that's not okay either.
So,
in general,
like California is a gig economy on a lot of aspects. So, what's stopping these people from leaving the union and becoming private contractors and actually able to negotiate one on one?
Well, that's the thing. The union's supposed to take care of that for them, which I know how we all feel about unions. We're all split down the middle about union work, but you can't really go contract. You're forced to be into these unions. If you're not with them, then you're just gonna get whipped around by the production company. They already drag these people through hell. If you go in as a contractor, you're gonna be treated worse because you no longer have to answer to their union. You no longer have a union representing you, so they're gonna try to keep you there, period, no matter what.
again, you're sitting down and negotiating your contract one-on-one, so you're getting what you want, the pay you want, you're meeting your needs. As where a union's more of a blanket, like a union's supposed to be like a minimum, and then you can have your little bit on top.
Mhm.
So the union setting the market. So Texas, this is how we treat a lot of unions, right?
Mhm.
Unions set the market, but you still have the option to go out of the union and be competitive.
Not with the Production Writers Guild, not with any of the motion pictures
I
and
do
TV
I do see what you're
projects.
saying though, Ethan. Like I feel
Yeah.
like it's like more of a, instead of somebody speaking for you, it's more of a personal negotiation for what works best for you as an individual.
Like you should have both of those options, right? Like here in tech, I don't know. I haven't lived in California. I haven't really dealt with
Yeah, I
unions
haven't
here, but
either.
the unions in Texas, I as a person can go join a union, and this is the benefits, this is the pay. Or I could not join I can go non-union to a private contractor and do the same work, and they have to be competitive with a union or I will go there. So I don't. That's what, like, California has a lot of that issue where they closed a lot of their markets, right?
Mhm.
The unions consolidated power in that market more or less. That's what you're saying.
Yeah.
So is going on strike with the union going to be the best option for a lot of these workers?
I mean, if the Producers Guild isn't going to budge on what their demands are and what their requests are, then I think it should be. And it's not the first time both TV and movies have seen a strike. A strike as big as this one, too.
What sucks is like when, okay, for like the writers strike, for example.
Mm-hmm.
Remember the quality of content that we got after that? Like so many shows got canceled after that because the writing wasn't the same, or like it sucks from a consumer's part too, and you're only digging yourself deeper in that hole of trying to retain viewers. I mean, gosh, I
Futurama and
didn't
that
know.
70s show are the only two shows I can name that survived the writer's strike.
Nah, I don't even know you could say that. I
Our
mean,
70s show.
that
Mm-hmm.
70
Yeah.
show, what, it lasted 2 seasons after the strike?
Yeah, 3 seasons.
I mean, and that could have been so seasonal contracts can vary from 1 to 3 seasons, right? So
Mm-hmm.
So
I don't know, can
tomorrow,
you
sorry. So I was gonna say tomorrow that they'll make the decision if they're gonna do the strike or not.
Tomorrow, IA is getting together to make that decision. They're gonna vote on it, and then, depending on what the vote is, we may or may not see certain television shows or stream shows disappear
Man,
or
well,
just get
hopefully that
canceled.
pushes people to smaller creators. Yay.
Yay!
So that's the other thing, when are we going to make that shift, right? Because you don't need a production studio anymore. Like that's the sad part, right? That we see these people's jobs slowly becoming obsolete
or,
because
or even like Selena Gomez, she recorded her whole album, right? Like
yeah,
virtually.
yeah. I mean,
Interesting.
Netflix has paved the way a lot, right?
Mhm.
So bring it back to the Joe Exotic, the after season show, right?
After
Where
season
Joe
show.
McHale hosted it. He's like, "Oh, well, just to do this, all we had to do was mail people iPhone and AirPods, and then that was all they needed." I mean, so if you just look at like the production of that show, that made millions of dollars, and it cost them what, 10,000 to produce it, probably.
Yeah. I mean,
So that's our. So is this strike a good idea in the long run? Because are you just showing that there's other options than the union right now?
okay. How many new shows are you excited to watch when they get released? How many new shows did you watch this year?
Probably every single new show because we're so starved for entertainment at the moment.
What's gonna
Yeah,
happen
I
when
switched over to
90% of those
Apple.
shows cancel?
But again, if we're already waiting and we're already doing that, then it's not going to bother us to wait a little longer, right? Like I could watch The Office again, right? It's not that big a deal. We have our already content that we already enjoy and use.
Fair. Yeah.
So if I have to wait a while longer for them to put higher quality content out, I'll be okay with it.
But I'm thinking about like Ted Lasso on Apple and how well it's written, and same thing with the morning show on Apple. I'm just like, no, like those they do so well at this show, these shows. It's kind of, and then we have like Amazon, right? Amazon
Yeah, Amazon's made
Rings.
awesome shows.
Yeah.
like
Boys.
well
Those shows could go away
yeah,
too.
the Lord
Marvel's
of the
Miss Maisel.
Rings. Yeah.
Guys, Lord of the Rings. I'm ready for it.
Well, I mean, look, if the strike happens and it lasts long enough, the shows may never come to fruition. They may be shelved forever.
But again, so that's why do the studios have to go that route? Is it the studio's choice or is it a external choice?
It's
right?
the
Like,
studios, because the studios hire the producers. The studio doesn't hire. They do hire everyone else, like the actors and everything, but the producers are directly with the studio.
So the
as opposed to
studio right
writer.
now says you can't write for my show unless you're part of this union, right?
Mm-hmm. Or
And
you have
then-
to be in your union to have your work backed.
Okay.
Yeah. I wish
So
I
what
wish
if
I knew more
pushes
how it
the
worked.
opposite? Yeah. Well, just saying, what if this pushes the opposite result? So we have to wait for our shows because they go on strike and the studios find ways around it and outsource talent from around the world.
That's gonna suck.
Like I see that as a possibility though, with the infrastructure and the work at home mentality that has been built up over the last almost 2 years now.
No, but these jobs are not work from home. Like you physically have to be there. So like if they're working on like fuck, I can't think of a TV show
But-
right now. Like
So-
the morning
so to
show
me-
on Apple or Big Bang Theory. Like those are stage shows. So stage shows won't work anymore because you won't have all of your staff there.
Maybe
It
then
fits-
do
Yeah.
something like Letter
But that's the thing.
Mm-hmm.
If the studios have to retool, what is stopping them from retooling with smaller staff?
They already have a
Honest-
skeleton staff. What were we gonna say, NJ?
I was gonna say, like, honestly, like, okay, for people that have to be on location, right? I think that's the Hollywood term, on location. Yeah. You have your own individual staff, whatever, like with your production company. But other things that can be outsourced, like writing or editing or whatever the case may be, a silver lining that I can see from that would be more diversity, more inclusion. Like you have different people telling different stories that may not have the accessibility that Hollywood has built up to be. Like we've talked about it before, where Hollywood is not what it once was. Like you don't have to be in California to make it. I mean, anybody with a mic and a video camera can make a podcast or be a content creator. So I don't know. That Ethan kind of made some good points. Alan made some good points. Like, I don't know. I'm interested to see how this plays out.
You're making a good point, right? Like if you want true diversity and true inclusion of other people, you have to break the stranglehold that Hollywood has on entertainment, because that is our problem right now, right? We have people from all over the United States with all different viewpoints, all different opinions.
Mhm.
And over the last couple of years, we've got a lot of politically charged messages coming through the shows, coming through the movies, which is fine, but it's only one perspective. And I think people have gotten a little burned out already. And that's why you do see the lack of support behind a lot of the newer shows and the newer movies.
But I mean, the lack of
So-
support is all from the production companies because they don't want to have to spend an arm and a leg to support, a full motion picture.
Well, for now, we'll just have to leave it as a what if. Well, that wraps up another great episode, and don't forget to join our amazing and supportive community on Discord.
In our Discord, you can find game nights, watch parties, food picks, Dungeons and Dragons, and more. What's not to love about that? We have a little something for everyone. Head over to our website, officialmillennials.com, and you'll find more info, especially our featured gamer of the week.
Speaking of something for everyone, we have a book club. We read a book almost every month and talk through it together. We also have a special perk for our subs to discuss other books in a series called Chapter 2.
Don't forget to swing by YouTube and drop us a follow at Official Millennials. You can also find us on Twitter at MillsOfficial. We appreciate all the support, and y'all have a good one.
This is an Official Millennials production.